Welcome to the Pithy Patriot, brought to you by the Jeffersonian community, part of the Jeffersonian American Network. I'm Judy, joined by my co-host David, and we're putting populism back where it belongs, at the local level, where citizens lead, self-govern, and rebuild their communities.
Yeah, and today we are actually doing a deep dive into Thomas Jefferson's, his really radical evolving blueprint for self-government.
Right, because usually we expect blueprints to be permanent, but his constitutional architecture was intentionally wet concrete. It was a structural landscape designed to be temporary, which is just wild.
It really is. We're going to be pulling apart historical essays and his actual letters to reconstruct what he truly meant by liberty.
And just a quick disclaimer before we get into the weeds. Since we were touching on the very heated tug of war between state and federal power, which is obviously still a big deal today, we're completely impartial here.
Absolutely. We take no sides whatsoever.
Right, we're just, mapping out his exact logic from the source material. So looking under the hood, those mechanics actually start with the dirt itself, right? Like he was super influenced by these French economic thinkers, the
Yeah,
physiocrats.
the Caesocrats. They basically believed that all true wealth, and I mean, therefore, true independence, came directly from the land.
Okay, so farming.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because for Jefferson, liberty meant you just couldn't be coerced. If you rely on a boss or, creditor for your survival, they basically control your vote and your voice.
That makes total sense. It's like he envisioned this nation of debt-free yeoman farmers. It's basically today's ultimate freelancer or independent contractor, right?
Oh, yeah, total incancelable. You grow your own food, you own your property outright, and you answer to absolutely no one.
But wait, if everyone is just fiercely independent and operating on their own isolated plots of land, how do you keep that from devolving into, like, a lawless frontier?
Well, that is exactly where education comes in. One of the essays we looked at frames this using that classic Western film, The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance.
Oh, wow, okay. Great movie.
Yeah. So in his mind, education isn't about job training at all. It's the absolute prerequisite for law, order, and virtuous self-government.
Because they have to understand the system.
Right. You have to teach people why liberty matters and how a republic actually functions so they have the capacity to maintain it.
But knowing why liberty matters doesn't automatically protect you against a massive centralized government. I mean, how did these independent farmers actually wield any collective power?
By breaking the country down into these tiny micro-democracies, he proposed this ward republic system.
Okay, what does that look like in practice?
He wanted to divide counties into these 25-square-mile checkerboards. The citizens inside each ward would directly manage, like, all of their local affairs, the roads, the schools, the local policing.
Wait, dividing power down into 25 square mile blocks? I mean, wouldn't that just be a recipe for massive gridlock? How do you keep a unified nation like that?
You would think it'd be chaotic, but he actually believed that minor inefficiency was a necessary price to pay. It was a way to institutionalize the revolution.
Oh, interesting. So it keeps them constantly engaged.
Exactly. By forcing citizens to actively govern their own backyards, they stay alert. It creates this distributed network of power. So if a central authority tries to overreach, they hit a wall of thousands of active, organized local wards.
Okay, but even with those local wards protecting the communities, the federal government remained a massive threat. And looking at the sources, his strategy to contain that threat shifted pretty dramatically over time.
It really did. Like, initially, Jefferson wanted the courts to serve as a check on corrupt legislatures. He fully supported a judicial veto.
Right, but then the Federalist Party used the courts to enforce the Alien and Sedition Acts, basically throwing political opponents in jail.
Yeah, which proved the courts could just be used to suppress liberty. So Jefferson completely pivots his strategy.
Which honestly feels a little hypocritical on the surface, right? Like, he builds this philosophy, then suddenly abandons judicial review and pushes for state legislatures to block federal laws. It's like he's grabbing whatever tool is convenient.
It definitely looks contradictory at first glance, but his core principle never actually moved. His absolute goal was always balanced government and preventing tyranny.
So the tool changed, but the goal didn't.
Exactly. When the courts failed as a shield, he picked up a new one-state nullification. This was the mechanism we see in the Kentucky Resolution, where a state could examine a federal law, declare it unconstitutional, and functionally refuse to enforce it.
The tactic changed, but the defense of liberty remained constant. Which brings us to his ultimate failsafe. In a letter to Samuel Kercheval, Jefferson argued that constitutions themselves shouldn't be permanent
Right, he believed they should legally expire every 19 years.
because, as he famously wrote, the dead have no rights.
Exactly. The Earth belongs to the living generation. He argued that laws and institutions have to progress alongside the human mind. You can't force a modern society to wear the same coat that fit it when it was a child.
So, bringing this back to you listening right now, Jefferson's vision really challenges you to look at your own 25 square mile ward. Are you an active participant making the rules or just a passive bystander?
Yeah, it's a stark warning. Jefferson cautioned that without deep local engagement, citizens just become mere automatons of misery, forced to work endlessly just to pay off government debts.
Which is terrifying, and it leaves you with a really strange thought to walk away with. If Jefferson fiercely believed that constitutions should expire every 19 years to serve the living, what would he think about us over 2 centuries later, constantly trying to interpret his original words to solve the problems of the digital age?
Yeah, are we practicing the exact tyranny of the dead he spent his entire life trying to prevent?
Exactly. We encourage you to follow us on Pithy Patriot and join the Jeffersonian Community.net.